Tier list video from Offbeat Outlaw just got posted. Oh my god, what's he reviewing? The Paladin. Wow, that's so cool. Do you think he's gonna put Fighter in God tier again? Yeah, he's a simp. We know. We know. What are these skits? Hello everybody, welcome back to Offbeat, to me. I'm starting this like a stream. What the fuck is wrong with me? Hello everybody, I am Offbeat Outlaw. I'm a Dungeons and Dragons YouTuber. I specialize in high tier, high level Dungeons and Dragons gameplay. And today we're going to be going through the Paladin multi-class tier list. How these tier lists work is the following. I will start by ranking the class itself as if it was a pure class, right? If you're starting as Paladin and you go all the way in Paladin, how good is it? And then we compare that to the multi-class options, maintaining a few assumptions. First of all, the class that we are ranking, aka today Paladin, you have the most levels in that particular class, not the other one. So there's no, oh, what if you start and do like 18 Wizard and 2 Paladin? That's not really the case with this. If you want to check out that particular build, go check out the playlist. Now, before we get into the tier list, we need to discuss how multi-classing works. In order to multi-class into a given class, you must meet the ability score requirements of both your current class and the new one. So if you say, for instance, start as a Paladin, which requires both a strength and charisma of 13, you want to multi-class into Wizard, you need to have a strength and charisma of 13 and an intelligence of 13, okay? That's how that works. You can't just not meet the requirements of your starting class to multi-class. You have to meet both. But today we are going to be covering the Paladin. If you want to see all my videos 24 hours early, as well as my skits, and as well as get access to a lot of my power builds that I've made, the character sheets, the homebrews that I've made, please join my Patreon. It's only $3 a month, and it goes a long way to support the channel. Anyway, let's get into the tier list. Starting with Paladin. Paladin. Where to rank Paladin? Paladin is a really good class. I would personally argue that Paladin is actually the best class to start playing if you are new to the game. It allows you to try the widest variety of playstyles, as well as it allows you to try out many different things in the game. Spellcasting, melee, and support abilities. Usually when I'm making multi-classes and making power builds, those are the things I think about. How good at damage is it? How good is it at crowd control? How good is it at support? And the Paladin allows you to try out all three of those things. Jack of all trades, master of none type situation. While it is very good at a lot of these jobs, it never becomes the best at those given jobs. And as a result, oftentimes players after playing Paladin, at least in my experience, might want to start multi-classing to more specify into a given sort of job, you might say. Paladin is really good. Its abilities work extremely well together. Its abilities just function with itself. It's just a good class. It also multi-classes very well. So I'm going to start by ranking it very solidly in B tier. Not because it's bad, but because I think it's just really, really good at a lot of things, and I think it's going to pair very well with a lot of things, as well as not. So let's get into the rest of them. Artificer. Artificer is another really, really solid class. However, it kind of like the Paladin, it does a lot of things, but I think it's less successful than the Paladin at doing those things. You see, when we think of the Paladin, we think of a few things. Divine Smite, obviously. We think of its Paladin auras, which buff saving throws as well as do something else, depending on your subclass. And those features alone, those three features work extremely well, as well as some of its, as well as the subclass giving it access to some really powerful spells. The Artificer, its abilities are oftentimes what you think of when you think of the Artificer is its bonus action abilities. The Battlesmith with their little robotic dog thing, the Artillerists with their cannons, Armorers with their armor, and then the Alchemists with their being bad. The Artificer's abilities its focus is mainly on being a spellcaster, whereas the Paladin's is mostly on being a mixed martial character of sorts. So it kinda, they don't necessarily play extremely well with each other. They do play relatively nicely with each other. Artificer allows you to make a lot of Artificer infusions, which can be really useful on a Paladin, but they don't play great with each other. They allow you to keep progress on your spellcasting, which is nice. There's just like a lot of, it does this, but it doesn't necessarily give it the best bump. I think it's kind of, frankly, I think it's pretty solid in B tier. I think it doesn't necessarily hinder the Paladin in any way, but I don't think it's that particularly strong at the end of the day. Next, we have the Barbarian. Barbarian Paladin. Ooh, where to put you? Barbarian Paladin is a really interesting class. You see, Paladins being a half caster means that they don't need to rely as much on their spell casting. And Paladins are kind of they do cast spells. They also Divine Smite, you know? Those are smite slots after all. So pairing it with Barbarian isn't necessarily a bad choice. Barbarian can provide some really good bulk to a Paladin, especially if you're playing your Paladin very frontline, martial, and melee. As well as the fact that the Paladin can oftentimes get some really strong... Oftentimes, if you're playing a Paladin, you're also swinging in melee, so getting that extra bump to your damage is nice. Unarmored defense from a Barbarian doesn't really help all that much on the Paladin, because the Paladin's usually wearing heavy armor anyway. Though if you take it off, you'll get access to rage and stuff, so like you're probably going to take it off, and then you have to start focusing on your con a little bit. So it starts to get a little mad, you know, which is multi-attribute dependent. A little bit, but not much, not much. Another problem though with anytime you multi-class a Barbarian with any kind of spellcaster, you get the issue of rage breaking concentration and not allowing you to cast spells. This is not good. This is, frankly, the biggest thing that hinders the Barbarian from being that prevents it from being a must pick. It's the fact that, frankly, being a Barbarian means you're playing with half your character sheet. If you raid, you can't cast spells, you can't concentrate on any spells. That's bad if you want to be casting spells. Thankfully, the Paladin gets away with not casting spells, so it doesn't hinder this particular combo as much as it might hinder a wizard, but it's still not great. Part of me wants to put it in C tier, but I don't think it's that bad. It's definitely worse than a full Paladin. I'm gonna put it in B tier, and we're gonna see how it goes from there. Next up, we have the Bard. The Bard is really solid. I'm putting in B tier for now. We're gonna reveal where it is at the end, but if you pay attention, you'll know. The Bard is incredibly good. It's such a solid class overall. The Bard is one of the premier full casters of 5th edition. It is one of the charisma-based full casters of 5th edition. The Bard can get access to any spell it wants at and above 10th level, but that's at and above 10th level. This is a multi-class. If you're going at and above 10th level, you're probably not a Paladin Bard, you're a Bard Paladin, you know? So how does the Bard multi-class? Extremely well. It multi-classes extremely well, especially if you pick up Lore Bard, so you can get some magical secrets early. Paladin Bard goes so good. In order to be a Paladin, you need Strength and Charisma of 13. To be a Bard, you need a Charisma of 13. You already meet the requirements if you want a multi-class. Second of all, Bard gives you tons and tons of spell slots. A big problem with Paladin as a class as a whole is managing your resources. Smiting on things gets your damage now, but it also means you're kind of running through your resources really quickly. To quote Pack Tactics, damage now is better than damage later, but also, you don't want to run out of resources. That's dangerous. Bard gives you those resources that you need. Bard gives you access to those resources, gives you more spell slots, gives you more spells, gives you more things to concentrate on while you're smiting. It gives you what the Paladin needs, which is diversity in its abilities. I think the Bard Paladin is extremely good. I think it is an easy god tier. No questions asked. And that's throwing on top of the fact you get expertise, jack of all trades. It's just really solid. And also, oh my god, support. The Paladin is a great support class already with its auras, giving a flat buff to everybody within 10 feet, equal to your charisma modifier. Bard can further bolster that with bardic inspiration. It's just so good. It works so well together. Next, we have the Cleric. Cleric is a really good class as a whole. It is another full caster. However, it is a wisdom-based full caster, requiring a wisdom of 13 in order to multi-class, meaning you're going to need both a strength, a charisma, and a wisdom of 13. That's kind of a lot. However, taking a single level dip, only a small little dip into Cleric can really help, I believe, the Paladin in a lot of areas. First of all, it gives you more spell slots. We talked about this with the Bard. The full casters are going to benefit from this greatly. Getting more spell slots is good. It's just good. That's the facts. Getting more spell slots is better than having less spell slots. This isn't really an argument, it's just kind of a statement of fact. Cleric also gives you access to a lot of really good spells that are largely already on the Paladin spell list, but maybe you didn't take them. Maybe you want to use the Paladin spell list for other things, or maybe you want to use the Cleric spell list to bolster up some other stuff and make you focus more on support. or potentially focus a little bit on giving you some damage options at a range. There are also Cleric subclasses which want to be in melee, so having it more Cleric having more melee options is not necessarily a problem for this build. I think the Cleric is an extremely solid pick. I think it does boost the Paladin as a whole, giving it more spell slots, more things, more abilities, more Channel Divinities are awesome, holy crap. I think it's just a good pick. While you do need that Wisdom of 13, you don't need to be casting your Cleric spells all that much. You don't really need that Wisdom. You might want something more important, like Channel Divinities, and then access to buff spells like Bless. You already have those with Paladin, but maybe you want more in from the Paladin stuff, so you can get them from Cleric. I think Cleric is a solid A tier, being hampered by the requirements of Wisdom. Next, we have the Druid. The Druid is a really solid class. Once again, a really good pick, especially individually. It is one of the strongest classes individually. However, I've personally found that it doesn't always multi-class well, and this is one of those times. Requiring a Wisdom of 13, once again, this isn't one of the stats that you really are focusing on as a Paladin, so it's a little bit annoying. However, there is one really good thing about it, about being a Druid, and that is it's a full caster again. Another full caster, giving you access to a lot of the stuff that you need, a lot more spell slots, a lot more resources in general on a resource-heavy build. However, the subclasses don't really offer you all that much, in my opinion, for a Paladin. The Stars Druid does offer some unique stuff, as does Shepherd Druid. Giving you summons can be quite useful, especially when you're buffing all of your summons as saving throws. That can be a lot of fun as a Paladin, but I don't personally find it to be that good overall. I think there are a lot of issues overall. I think that the Druid isn't offering enough to the Paladin for it to be worthwhile. I think that the Druid, especially with Wild Shape, is a really great utility ability, but I think that a lot of the services that Wild Shape provides can be offered by that of familiars or other such creatures. I'm going to place the Druid just below Paladin in B tier. I think that this is a good place for it. I think that this fits. It offers a lot. It doesn't necessarily underperform. It doesn't necessarily overperform. I think it's very close. Next, we have the Fighter. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm a simp. Okay, look, I simp for Fighter. What do you want from me? Fighter's good. It's just a good class. It's just solid. It gives you really good subclasses. It gives you really good, it gives you action surge. It gives you a fighting style. It gives you stuff that just fits on every single build. Battle Master fits on everything. It fits on absolutely everything. Echo Knight is extremely useful, giving you extra access to more attacks to up your ability. Eldritch Knight can allow you to maintain some spell slot progression while getting access to really powerful abilities like Action Surge and War Magic. The Fighter is just a good class. And if you go 8 Eldritch Knight and 12 Paladin, you get access to Shadow Blade, which is one of the best melee spells in the game. It's just a good fucking game. It's just a good class. It's just a good class. There's nothing else really to say about it. Action Surge is awesome. Attacking more is great. Always attack more if you can. Downsides, it does hinder your spell slot progression. If you take more than 3 levels, you are going to be hindering yourself a little bit. Taking 3 levels and then going Eldritch Knight can often be a lot of fun. I don't know if it's God tier or A tier. Acknowledging my simpage, I'm going to put it into A tier, but just know in my heart, I want to put it into God tier, alright? It's what I want, okay? Next, we have the Monk. Oh, Monk. One day you'll do good. That day isn't today. Monk, you suffer from many problems. Few things with the Monk. First of all, unarmored defense, it's not as good as the Barbarian one. You can't use a shield, and requires wisdom, making you even more multi-attribute dependent. Additionally, in order to multi-class in the Monk, you need both dex and wisdom and strength and charisma of 13. That is 4 stats. 4 stats you need in order to multi-class. That's fucking ridiculous. That is so ridiculous for a build. That is incredibly multi-attribute dependent. Additionally, its unarmored defense requires wisdom. That's not really a stat you care about as a paladin. It requires dex as well, which like you kind of do, but that's why we have heavy armor. Unarmed strikes, you technically can't smite on them. I know that it doesn't actually affect balancing, but speaking rules as written, you can't smite with unarmed strikes. You have to use your monk weapon for those, meaning that you cannot smite with flurry of blows. rules as written. Stunning Strike is fun. Starting Strike is really good. Being able to smite and Stunning Strike is pretty great. However, you need to be upping your wisdom to do that when you should be focusing on your charisma so that you can buff your allies. It doesn't mesh. It just doesn't mesh whatsoever. It does not come together to make a good build. It does not come together to make a fun. It might be a lot of fun, but Paladin Monk does not work. I am sorry. This might be one of the worst multi-classes I've ever conceptualized. I can't see it working. Maybe you can. I genuinely don't see how this works together. You might say, well, Step of the Wind is nice, and Patient Defense is good. Okay, bonus action dodging is fine. That's great. That's awesome. Actually, I enjoy that feature. Step of the Wind is okay, but you can get that from Rogue for free if you're really focusing on dashing, and you're not multi-classing enough for it to really be worthwhile in the long run. Also, Paladins have stuff to use on their bonus actions. If you're a Conquest Paladin, you should be using Spiritual Weapon. I just can't see it. I genuinely can't see it. Especially, and Paladins are already such a bonus action heavy class with their spell smites, not their divine smites, their spell smites like Branding Smite, Wrathful Smite, Thunder Smite. Those are already costing so much in your bonus action. It just doesn't work. I can't see this working out very well. D tier, D tier, D tier. Next, we have the Ranger. Ranger has a lot of the same problems that the Monk multi-class has when it comes to multi-classing, and that is the multi-attribute, the attribute requirements. Dex and Wisdom of 13. That's a lot to ask of a given character. Now, the reason why this is a lot to ask is you just only have so many ASIs, and if you're multi-classing, you're missing out on them. You are missing out on important ability score attributes in order to multi-class. That's kind of part of how the balancing works when it comes to multi-classing, and why you shouldn't really ignore attribute requirements when you are multi-classing or when you're running characters or running games where players have multi-classed. Having 4 stats above 13 is a lot to ask. You are going to be taking a hit somewhere. With Paladins, they usually dump their charisma in this situation, or at least they don't have it as high as they should be. Ranger is just not great in this scenario. Ranger, once again, I don't think it's as bad a class as many people claim it to be. I think it's actually a really fun class. I think it's got a lot of really good things about it too, and I think it's generally a very mid-tier pick. I think it's really just middle of the road, but it does not multi-class well with the Paladin, that's for sure. I would say that I think Ranger solidly sits in C tier. I think that's where it's home. I think that's where it fits. I think it enjoys itself there. I think it works out really nicely for it there. It is a caster. It does have access to cast. It is the other half caster. So you do actually maintain your Paladin spell slot progression. But once again, it just doesn't really help you out in the long run. I don't think this is a good pick if you're playing a Paladin. Next, we have the Rogue. The Rogue is an interesting pick for sure. Rogue Paladin works kind of together. Sneak attack is kind of a non-issue, kind of doesn't matter that much because you're not really getting that many levels in Rogue for it to really matter, but it can be nice to get access to it all the same. Rogue also gets access to Cunning Action. Cunning Action is really, really good, giving you a bonus action to dash, disengage, or hide. That's really solid. Additionally, the Rogue as a whole is a really solid class, giving you access to things like expertise. However, Bard already does that for you, but you know, we're not going to complain about getting features that are useful. The subclasses leave a little bit to be desired. I'm not going to lie. The Swashbuckler does help with the Paladin's rather abysmal, usually abysmal initiative scores, due to the fact that they tend to dump dex, or at least don't keep it as high as they maybe should. But overall, the Rogue doesn't necessarily offer the most to the Paladin. I don't think it hurts it too bad, but I don't think it offers a lot. Although it is kind of funny, with evasion and with the Rogue and the Resilient feat and Paladin together, you can get yourself a plus 16 to dexterity saving throws, basically preventing you from ever failing a dex save and taking no damage from them as a result. It's kind of a funny thing you can do. I think it's neat. It's kind of fun to fight dragons with this ability because their breath weapons do nothing. But I don't think it's great. I'm going to put it... Artificer and Rogue are the same. Artificer and Rogue are the same. Next up! Next, we have the Sorcerer. Sorcerer, good. Sorcerer, good. Sorcerer, good. I don't like Sorcerer that much personally, but in this case, Sorcerer good. Sorcerer Paladin, Sorcerer works great. Spell slots, excellent. You get your full cast, you have multi-classing with full caster, get that shit going. Sorcerer requires 13 charisma. You should already have that as a Paladin. you're golden. Sorcerer gives you access to good spells. Nice, we like that. Throw on some Warcaster on there. Now you can give yourself shields to bump up your already probably pretty high AC so that you're not going to be taking those hits. As well as the fact that you can probably have spell slots for days for all of your divine smiting you're going to be doing. Additionally, you got sorcery points. Sorcery points are really, really useful on multi-classes because they allow you to cast spells in different ways. Subtle spell Zone of Truth. That's fun. Quicken spell Booming Blade from Sorcerer so you can get an extra hit in with your divine smites. That's good. There's lots of really good spells with the Sorcerer. There's lots of really good abilities with the Sorcerer. Lots of really good stuff with the Sorcerer. I think the Sorcerer Paladin is just easy pick God tier. I don't know whether Bard or Sorcerer is better. I just know that they're good. I'm gonna put them in like the same sort of rank. Sorcerer, Paladin, golden. Next, we have the Warlock. Same, different dance, same shit. I don't know, same shit, different anus. Warlock good. Warlock Paladin is really fucking good. Hexblade Paladin is a tier above everything, Frank. You know what? If I was ranking this purely off of Hexblade Paladin, I would put the Warlock Paladin above God tier. But I'm not. I'm ranking it, I'm ranking all of them together. Hexblade Paladin, a Warlock Paladin is really good all the same, requiring once again for you to only focus on your charisma and your strength. Warlock gives you access to really useful stuff. Eldritch Smite goes really hard. Pact of the Blade is really cool. Giving yourself a familiar maybe, Pact of the Familiar. More cantrips, Pact of the Tome. There's lots of really good stuff you can do with it. Subclasses also give you access to lots of really good concentration spells. Hypnotic Pattern, Spirit Shroud. Ooh, we love Spirit Shroud in this house. Warlock is just really, really solid. It does everything you want it to. It requires charisma. There's no complaints. These three are all excellent multi-classes for the Paladin. The Wizard. Next, we have the Wizard. It's good. It's solid. Requiring you to have an intelligence of 13, it's like okay. It's once again, you shouldn't really be focusing on your intelligence that much, but the Wizard does give you access to a lot of really, really good spells as well as the Wizard spell list in general. Wizard spells are awesome. Ritual casting as a Wizard is really easy and fun. Wizards are really cool. In general, we love wizards. I personally really, really, really like wizards. I like playing them. I think they're really fun to play. It's a full caster, so it gives you tons of resources for your spell slots. It gives you lots of great spells. However, you gotta kind of play around that intelligence situation a little bit more when you're with a paladin. So I would say it's A tier. Do I move fighter? Do I move fighter? I really like fighter. I'm putting it in God tier. Anyway, this is the tier list. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You guys seem to really be enjoying the tier lists. I've been enjoying making them. I'll keep making them if you guys keep watching them. My goal is to eventually get through all of the classes. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe tell me what classes you want to see next. Which one would you like me to rank? I will rank the multi-class tier list of that class. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. Bing the bell. Tell your friends. And get the fuck out of my house.